Bible. We love you. You can turn to Matthew chapter 1 right there near the end, and we're going to pick up right at verse 22 and then look at verse 11 over in chapter Deuce for a little spell as well. But if you've been with us, we're going through how the Gospels brought Jesus into the world, like how they present him, and it is Christmas time, so we looked at some traditions that we have come to believe as facts that may or may not really be facts in terms of like the Bible didn't say that, but we kind of assume some things. And then when you go to school and you say, hey, Merry Christmas, what are you guys going to do for Christmas? And they look at you like, oh, we don't celebrate Christmas. And maybe you wondered, what's wrong with Christmas? So we've taken the last couple of weeks and said, well, here's a problem with Christmas, and it really falls on us. So one last one to look at, again, if you brought a Bible, Matthew chapter 1, I want to look at verse 22 and 23. It'll be on the screen for you if you don't have it. But check this out. Matthew wrote down, he said, all this took place, and this is Mary having the angel appear to her and say, hey, I know you're a virgin girl, but you're still going to have this baby, and it's God's, okay? And then her future husband saying, oh, you're pregnant, and we haven't, and so you must have, and so I'm out. But then an angel appeared to him and said, hey, it's not like that. It really is from God, and he stayed, all right? So all of that took place is what Matthew's saying. All that took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. And here's what the prophet said. Catch this. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. So one question I want to ask for you tonight, and if you're taking notes, this would be the title of the conversation. It's, why did he come? Like, why did Jesus come into the world? And my follow-up question would be like, why did he come as a child? Like, if it were me, I'm going to show up with a six-pack and everything, okay? A big crown. You're going to know that it's me, that I create. Like, that's how, like, I want music. Give me my theme music in the words of Coach Prime. Like, it's going to be a whole production. But for God coming into the world, it was a quiet night, a silent night, a holy night. There wasn't a massive crowd gathering, counting down from 3, 2, 1, push, Mary, push. Like, it wasn't like that. It was just in a barn / like the extra room of this house that was already crowded, and we weren't really expecting it right now at this particular moment kind of deal. So, again, the question is, why did he come? But luckily for us, Matthew kind of just told us because that was his name. They called him Emmanuel, which is God with us. So why did Jesus come into the world? It was to give us an example of who God is. Wouldn't it be weird if we had to go out through our entire life in this world, knowing that there's a God, but just have to wonder, like, what is he like? What's it like to be him? Like, what does he want to do? Like, what? And he's so far removed from us. Like, have you ever, maybe at your school, you feel like you're the student, and the principal making the rules and enforcing the rules is so far removed from you that it's like, I don't quite understand, or the superintendent of the school, or as an American citizen, you're like, the president is in a house in a different state making these rules, and like, he doesn't even know who I am, really, but I've got to listen to what he said. But it's not like that with God, because God stepped out of heaven and came to dwell among us, so that he would experience everything we experience. And when we look at Jesus, we can see who God is and what God is like. So why did Jesus come? He came to reveal God to each of us. So that's why he came on Christmas. Now I got my follow-up question. So that Sean McDowell dude was talking about how these 3 wise men appeared, and there may not have been 3. So what's up with them? Why did they come? All right, so we know why Jesus came, to reveal God. Why did the Magi come? So I want to look at verse 11 in chapter 2, and it'll be on the screen for you as well. Check this out. It says, on coming to the house, the Magi, and again, it is believed that like there were 3, that's tradition, but there were 3 gifts. We don't know how many Magi there actually were. And by that, it's like, think college professors who like studied the stars, astrology. They were studying like various religions. They were very wise. They were always like in books, like studying and seeing everything going on. So that's who we're talking about. So on coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And that's where they think that there could have been 3, but there's probably more, because these are very expensive gifts. All right? Like when you brought your gift in, we said, hey, bring a gift that's $5 or less. Bring that with you. So you know what you didn't need? You didn't need security, right? Your parents were not having you get out of the car, like watching you each step of the way because of the gift that you brought, so that you wouldn't get mugged in the parking lot, because it is CrossPointe, okay? Where felons become family, all right? So what they had was very expensive gifts. So they needed an entourage. They wanted to make sure they didn't get robbed on the way, okay? So these were very expensive gifts. But the part that I want to kind of get hung up on, because I don't think that you probably envision this, I want you to picture it. All right, so I want you to kind of close your eyes if you have to. It's a cold night. You're in Bethlehem. This baby was not just born. That's a misconception. This is either months or even up to 2 years after Jesus was actually born. And they walk into this house, and this potentially toddler child is with his mom. And these wise people, these college professors, these scholars, these scientists, these guys that study so in depth, they walk into this room, and they find this toddler, goo goo gaga. Like if you have a toddler in your home, a sibling, you can all too well imagine you going home tonight and taking this gift that you're about to get, and you walk into that little goo goo gaga toddler in your house, and you bow down and start worshiping goo goo gaga. Right? It doesn't make any sense. Who in their right mind would worship a child? Right? But you're thinking like, well, as a child, I wanted to be worshiped. And the parents who have children are thinking, I feel like I worship them. I'm with them all the time. But understand, like you bowing down, prostrating yourself in front of a child who has yet to pronounce A, B, or C. And you brought expensive gifts. Gifts that were difficult to get, difficult to pay for, and dangerous to carry. So why were the Magi there? Here's what I would suppose, or like kind of present to you. I believe they were there that night to show us how to respond to God being with us. They showed up that night after all their studying, all their questions had directed them to this house this night with this toddler, and it didn't matter his age. They had done enough studying to know this is the one we've read about. This is the one, and we're not even Jewish, and we know. So it wasn't about a religion. It was about, here's where the evidence led us. So much so that the king in the area said, hey, let's slaughter all the babies that are 2 years old or younger, just to make sure that there's not a king trying to take over for where I'm trying to rule. But the Magi showed up so that they could show us how to worship. And they could show us that it wasn't what we expected, but it's what the evidence pointed toward. So if you're here tonight and maybe you're like, I don't know about this whole faith thing, Josh. I'm glad you're here. Keep coming back here. You're going to be safe here. You can find comfort here. And we want to help you understand and make sense of any questions that you have. But the evidence throughout your life and what you experience will direct your steps to Jesus. And who is Jesus? Jesus is God with us. He is the one who will show you who God is and what God is like. The question is, when he presents himself to you, will you bow down and worship? Or is there something else you're worshiping that's going to pull you away? That's a question for you. But if you're here tonight and tonight you're saying, okay, I understand now. So the whole Christmas thing, I didn't see it before. I just thought it was about gifts, but he really came into this world to show us who God is. And he lived a life so that he could be not the one who lived a perfect life to show us that it's possible, right? That I'm better than you. No, he showed us that it's possible, and now I can forgive you for where you've messed up. So if that is you tonight and you want to begin your relationship with Jesus, I want to invite you into a personal relationship with him, because I do think heaven is real and I do think hell is real, and people will spend eternity there. And one of the best things I've heard our pastors say is this, is that if you're not a follower of Christ, then this life on earth is as good as it gets. But if you are a Christ follower, if you have accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, this is as bad as it gets. And that's why Jesus came, so that we could have a chance of eternity with him. So he came for you. The wise man came to show us how. Where are you going to go tonight? What is your decision before you leave this room tonight? So if you would, bow your head and close your eyes. I'm going to say, hey, I'm Josh Carter. Thank you so much for stopping by to view this message. If your next step is to receive Christ as your Lord and Savior, we are so excited for you, and we want to help you take that next step. So jump in the description and click those links to find out what following Jesus is all about, what that means, and of course, what's next. And if your next step is baptism, we would love to schedule that for you. So just go to crosspointe.church, select next steps, and get baptized, and fill out that application, and we will schedule that day with you. So super excited for you. But again, thank you so much for viewing this week's message. Have a great day, and God bless.